All right. Um, Hello. This is gonna be my second video. It's gonna be about what I'm gonna be doing is making a 2020 presidential election um, prediction, of course, based on Sanders versus Trump. And I'm also gonna be talking about the Senate elections, and I'm gonna be talking about the House elections as well, just a little bit, but we can already be talking about the presidential election, even though it is only February, because given what has happened in the first few primaries and what the developments look like they will be in the coming months, it seems to me that a Sanders versus Trump race in November is what's most likely. So let me be putting Sanders and Trump over here. Um, so here's the thing. Let me just there you go. So I'm gonna be going through the consensus map here. I think this is pretty accurate according to how I think these states are going to vote. Indeed, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Florida, and Arizona are toss-ups. Um, and pretty much everything else is pretty well set. I don't know about Maine's second district, but we can take a look at that. Um, and the way I'm going to be addressing how things are going to go is essentially by looking at the Real Clear Politics polling data, and we can start. Yeah, we can start with taking a look at Pennsylvania, how I think Pennsylvania is going to go, and how that will affect the Congress. So, with regards to Pennsylvania, currently we have a situation where Trump won it in the last election, but he won it by a very small margin. He won by only a few tens of thousands of votes. So, taking a look at the polling data, we can see that basically any Democratic nominee is expected to win against Trump. Um, these are some old polls. I'll accept that. That's very true that they're very fucking old. They're from November last year. But I think they still hold true in that we can expect these numbers to have stayed relatively the same. In the general election, we can see that even in the new polls from February, it still holds that Sanders is going to win by an 8% margin over Trump in the national election. And I think this is going to translate just fine into these states because it was so close in 2016, and Hillary did win the popular vote. So I think that this is going to translate about as well to these states that won by very small margins. So going on to Pennsylvania first, it seems to be going for Sanders. I'm gonna put a lean there. Um, Taking a look at Michigan. Michigan is going to Sanders, even bigger margin. I think we can, so we can assume it's going to go blue. Wisconsin. Wisconsin is still going Sanders. And this is a much, much more recent poll, too. There's another by Fox News, and he puts Sanders even further ahead. But I'm not going to count that one. I'm going to count the closest one. So I did the most recent one, and that says Wisconsin goes blue. North Carolina. North Carolina is a bit more complicated, but the nearest poll we have is that Sanders wins by 6 points. Before that, it said Trump would win by 5 points. I think this is a true toss-up. I'm gonna put a tilt to blue here. Very, very tiny expectation that North Carolina is going to go blue. It's going to be very close, and it could just very well go the other way. Florida. Florida is another big old tie. It's also expected to go Sanders, according to the nearest poll we have. But um, there are two other polls which show Trump winning there. So with that said, I think we can put another tilt. Ohio. How's Ohio gonna go? Ohio is expected to go to Sanders. And this is a pretty recent poll. No, hang on, it's not. But yeah, there's two polls. One went to Trump, another went to Sanders. I think this means we can at the very least put in a very slight tilt to blue. If we're missing, no, Minnesota. Minnesota's another one, pretty old poll, says Sanders. I'm gonna put a, I'm gonna make this a tilt. Oops. Iowa. Iowa seems to be going even further Trump. Says lean, I think this is pretty fair. Arizona. Arizona seems to be going Trump pretty much. I'm gonna put a lean. Wait, did I put likely instead? Sorry, lean. Leans Trump. The only thing left is Nebraska, but I don't know about that one. Nevada seems to be going Sanders, but I'm gonna put it as a tilt. Texas. Texas is a pretty major one. The election is looking closer and closer in Texas. It used to be Trump +7, then Trump's +5, but there's two polls which have shown Trump to be winning this one by a much smaller margin. And this one is from February. 2%. I'm gonna put Texas as a lean rather than a more likely red state. New Hampshire. New Hampshire seems to be going pretty alright for Sanders. So yeah, okay, it stays as a lean. Maine. Maine seems to be going Sanders as well. I don't know about the 2nd district though. So I'm just going to leave it as it is. And finally, Virginia. Well, between these two, it seems to have switched a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on a tilt. But it seems to be going towards Trump here. And those are all the states. I don't care about Nebraska. I'm going to say this is a... I'm going to leave it as a toss-up. Who cares? Right? But this would mean a pretty big landslide for Sanders if it went this way. Obviously, there's a lot of things to happen, left to happen before the election itself, but this would put Sanders at a significant advantage over Trump. After all, Sanders is the one that is currently enjoying the benefit of the polling, even though there is a pretty big and concerted effort against Sanders' nomination by the DNC. And indeed, that is the best chance that Trump has at this election. If the DNC successfully steals the nomination from Sanders, I think there's a very likely chance that Trump would just outright win, and it might even be a landslide because people are just going to stay home instead of voting. There was another good a good tool here to predict how the elections could go based on based on demographics, right? Um, and it is pretty important to take a good look at how this could go based on the demographics. Now, we would need to take a look at the polling for Sanders. Now, there's some other polling. It would be good to get some numbers here because it is known that Sanders is doing quite well among the minorities, but there's still, for example, some good support among the black voters for Biden instead, though Sanders is very quickly gaining on them. This is on February 13. Look at these. Uh, this is national. So I think that we could assume that the 93% black demographic voting Democrat could very well stay that way, but I think we could assume a bit higher turnout, roughly 5% more. Latinos, I think they're going to vote a bit more Democrat if Bernie Sanders is the candidate. Um, there you go. And I think they're going to vote a little bit more, 5% more. Asians and others, we know that Bernie Sanders is the highest support among other minorities. So let's increase it by roughly 5% and the turnout by, I don't know, 3%, 4%. College educated whites. We know that Bernie Sanders has a bit more appeal to them, but we gotta get a good number for that. Mamma mia. 339 pages, boys. Gonna give you some good stuff. Well, this is an interesting little one. Most people seem to be saying that it's going on the wrong track, which, might just very well indicate a general displeasure with the government, but not necessarily Trump, of course. In any case, um, favorability for Bernie Sanders. There you go. So we can take a look at the whites. Ethnicity white. So he has roughly 41%. I think that whites have a little bit less approval of Bernie Sanders. It seems. Um, I'm gonna have to take a look at the other candidates to see if they're just as bad as this. Whites, where's this? White 46%, 37. 31%, 43. 29, 37. Wow, battle of workman, damn. 2023. Wow, these are some old fucking data. Damn, that's some Sherrod Brown. I don't even know this person, man. Yeah, no shit. They just yeah, never heard of 55%. No shit, people don't know him. So okay, I guess we can expect Republicans to vote a little bit. Hang on, college educated though. Well, I guess they can expect a little bit more. And it seems like Trump can make them vote a little bit more. Here, though, I think he might be a little bit more Republican, but I don't know about turnout. Maybe up a little bit. But, yeah, we can see that still Sanders would win like this with just a very minute it, turnout increase in Hispanics, Latinos, blacks, and Asians, even against a more turnout for college educated whites and non-college educated whites. I mean, we could take a look at higher turnout, maybe 60%, about even more. Yeah, see, it doesn't really change. Even at 65%, it would have to really start increasing a lot the number of people approving of Trump, but we know that that's not the case, though. What might happen is, I mean, even if we put it 66%, yeah, that would be a pretty big switch. But we know that's not gonna happen, man. It's not gonna get 66% vote there. We could increase the third party vote a little bit more, maybe 5%. But that doesn't really do much. It just decreases the popular vote that's needed for them to become president. So yeah, there's I haven't really heard of any real places where there could be a third party candidate. For example, like in Utah, having a candidate that spoils Trump's vote and makes him lose there, for example. I mean, there was Mitt Romney voting for Trump's removal in the Senate, so that could go that way. But in any case, another thing that I'm gonna be saying here in this video is looking at the Senate races. Now, the Senate races, it's looking like this currently. And would you look at that? The exact places there are toss-ups in the national map are also toss-ups here in the Senate, except for Colorado. So how I think it's going to go is, well, basically I'm going to agree with every one of these votes, even though I think there's a very real possibility of some backlash against some of the Republican senators who voted in the impeachment, because I think there was some real there's going to be some real fallout for them because of how blatantly Trump just turned the entire, I mean, not Trump, but the Republicans in general, they just turned the impeachment into a joke, like not allowing witnesses, the how embarrassingly the procedures went, and it's very possible that there might be some further switches. But looking at the presidential election map we made, um, well, we can assume that the VP is going to be a Democrat, and we can also assume that Maine is going to turn Democrat. North Carolina is going to be a very slight tilt Democrat. Colorado is going to be a lean. Arizona, as we looked, might look into Trump, and Texas, as we looked, is going to be a lean. So this is how it would look like with the Democrats being one short of a majority, a working majority, given the situation right now. Now, I do think that sure, these Midwestern states that always seem to vote Republican, they're gonna stay like that, I think. But there's a very real chance that, for example, Kentucky might see a switch. And why do I say that? Well, it's because of Mitch McConnell's dreadfully bad favorability rating. We can take a look at Real Clear Politics again. Real Clear Politics, we can take a look at the favorability ratings. And we can see how atrociously badly this guy is rated. And I think that with that, there might be a very real chance there's going to be a switch there. That Kentucky might just end up flipping. There's also a possibility that a lot of other places might end up flipping, but we can expect Alabama to flip Republican. Doug Jones, I mean, it was already pretty crazy that he managed to win in a deep South state like that. But then again, the candidate he ran against was a literal pedophile, and that's why he managed to win. That was basically the only reason why he managed to win. So it would take something like that happening in other Republican states for those to flip, and I think that's how it's gonna stay. There's a minor chance that Kentucky might flip, but I'm still gonna say it's a lean for the Republicans. I don't know much about other states, but I know that Texas is a lean. Because here's my logic on this. Apart from the egregiousness of Mitch McConnell's approvals, there's a very real possibility. I'm going to say this is the most likely possibility. That what's going to be happening is simply that people are going to be voting down the ballot. They're going to be just looking at what party the candidates are rather than the candidate itself. And since it's a presidential election year, they're just going to vote, okay, I'm going to vote for Trump, and then I'm going to vote for McConnell, and then I'm going to vote for everybody else who's a Republican. So this is why I think that however the presidential election looks, that's also how the Senate election map is going to look, which is also why I think Alabama is, it might even be likely red, because it's just how it's going to go in the actual election. Texas I put as a lean because I think that's how it's going to go in the actual election. Um, so I think this is really how it's going to end in the election, how it's going to end up being, and there is a very minute chance that there's going to be some Republicans that are going to be flipping or winning way weaker uh, results because of the impeachment hearings. But in any case, that's about it. With regards to the House elections, again, I think again the results of the presidential election are just going to manifest again, and I think therefore, looking at the situation that we have in the House, I think some specific representatives might lose, but in general, we're going to see an upswing of more Democrats winning because that's just how their favorability looks. Most of the toss ups are against the Republicans. So, however, the county map ends up looking in the elections is how I think the in the presidential elections is how I think is gonna go in the House of Representatives, unless we're talking about very specific people who are, say, involved in some scandal or they're conducting some kind of that they're being like targeted by media or some other situation where they have done something egregious in the votes, for example. And I think therefore, I think, for example, because of the impeachment, some of the Republicans are going to lose support, some are going to gain support, and I think some of the Democrats are going to also lose support, especially the ones in deep South states. But we don't know exactly how the numbers are going to look. There's way too many elections going on for me to really be addressing each and every single one of them. But I think that given the flips and the unflips, I think that there's going to be a gain, a net gain for seats for the Democrats. We'll see how big it'll be, but yeah, that's how it's going to be. Anyway, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, whatever. I don't care. But comment. Please do comment on what you think, how you think things might be, and where you think I might have gotten things wrong or where the polling might not be very well trusted. In any case, have a good day and see you next time.